All right, we can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Jill from Wendy and one of the conference organizers. We're really excited about today's conversation. Candidate experience, can personalization and scale coexist? I'd like to introduce Brian Smith, principal at Mercer, who will be moderating the talk. So enjoy. Please make sure to have questions ready. You can post them anytime in the panel to the right in the chat under sessions, and we'll get through those at the end or as we go through the talk. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Jill. Hello, everyone. As Jill mentioned, my name is Brian Smith. I am Mercer's career products leader in the Southeast. What that means is I get to talk about all the cool stuff that's happening in the world around us, the future of our global workforce digitization. But I came from the talent acquisition space. It's where my heart lies, and it's where I've met a lot of these folks that we're speaking with today. Formerly a member of the employment branding world and designing recruitment marketing for a bunch of firms, a bunch of global organizations. So I regularly do a lot of chats on candidate experience. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm joined by three awesome panelists. They're going to introduce themselves. We're going to have some fun. I'll be the first person to tell you, if you have a question, throw it in. We have some boilerplate questions, but we don't want to ask those. We want to get to what you guys want to hear. And we're happy to talk about anything. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, he doesn't need an introduction, Jim Stroud, take it away.
Hello, thank you. The check's in the mail for that introduction. Jim Stroud, I'm the VP of Marketing for Proactive Talent, doing work I love with people I like, producing a lot of great content, and getting it out to you good people.
Steven?
That's it, short, sweet.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I don't think mine is going to be as shorter as that, but I'm the CEO of Interseller. At Interseller, we help over 3,000 recruiters automate tasks like sourcing from sourcing candidates to reaching out to them via email at scale, anywhere from 100 to however many candidates you're reaching out to. And I'm also an engineer. So I'm a software engineer of 14 years. I used to work for companies like Rutgers University, Compass, that big old conglomerate. I used to do a lot of email spam related stuff. So back in the day, I used to build spam filters. So yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
Thank you. And David?
Hey, I'm David Barlaam. I'm Director of Recruiting Operations at T-Rock. I've led recruiting for startups all the way through Fortune 500 companies. I've been recruiting for about 25 years now, which is a much longer time than I remember it being. And super enthusiastic about candidate experience and about treating our candidates like customers, like that they are. That's it.
Man, we got some good people here. Valerie, yay Rutgers, all right, Jersey boy here. Wow, how you doing, bud? So, all right, let's get right into it. We don't have any questions yet from the group, so let's pose one of the ones that we discussed earlier. So feel free to just chime in, any one of you three. Talk about recruitment automation and what you're doing either at your organization or how you're helping your clients to improve processes. Specifically, how has this impacted the candidate experience? Who wants to take it?
I guess I can go first.
With me.
We at Interseller, we help our clients kind of like automate the process of like really like reaching out to like candidates at scale. We also help them do like business development. I would say to the question, I see we help kind of like our recruiters kind of like get access to all of the data sources that are available out there, ranging from now like 16 plus. And so with all the data that's available, you can find in all the details about a candidate to then like personalize that experience for them, to making sure like your emails are completely personalized and on point, on topic to their background and so forth. Obviously, you don't want to reach out to like a candidate that, if they are like a finance person, you don't want to reach out to them for an engineering job. Having more data about them is extremely important. And doing your research at scale, meaning not checking every single like LinkedIn profile possible, but just knowing all of that information in one place is very important. I don't know if that...
David, do you want to step in from the corporate side of the house and what you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I think that as far as we get with AI and machine learning recruitment automation, it always feels like there's so much further to go. We're doing a lot of work with video interviewing, with automated score generation, and really looking at exactly how we make it the fastest, smoothest process possible. I mean, right now we're down to just about 2 minutes per apply, and we're stressing out thinking that that's way too long, for an application to take. Whereas, 5 years ago, wow, 2 minute application. How do you collect the 17 things that you think you need? But utilizing the various tools that are out there, utilizing video interviews, and having a lot more small, chippier interactions rather than thinking that you need to do one massive 45-minute, initial part of the process to gather everything, and also using whatever social and other information is out there on the web. It really has helped us get a lot faster. But I think the faster we get, the only thing that we can really think about is how much better we can get, and how much more concise we can get, and how much better accuracy we can have going forward. So it's a never-ending race.
Time out, because we have a real-time question from Gina. How do you do a 2-minute apply and skill, knocking out the unqualified candidates? So David, you were almost like at the cusp of getting to that. How would you respond?
So, it's not perfect. Nothing that I know of is yet. But there are always some really key differentiators. One of the big questions that we always ask our hiring managers and our leaders: what differentiates the almost hired from the hired? So, I mean, there's a fine line that hits that. So really, getting your questions to the point where they're really able to discern, okay, hey, great skill, not what we need. Then, of course, there's also that line between not qualified legally and a qualified viable candidate. So there's a few different lines in the sand there. But with our high volume stuff, it's often a baseline. Are you legal to work in the U.S.? Do you have the core minimum qualifications to do the role? But in a lot of cases, it's also want and desire. Are you willing to do the things that we need you to do in this job? And it takes out a lot of the people that aren't going to give you what you need, and you also don't have what they need, so why waste their time?
Interesting. Look like Brian froze a little bit, but let me jump in behind you if I could there, as he's pondering thought. He looks so like deep in thought there. That's very interesting. All right, so he is a deep thinker. He's a deep thinker. One thing I think about when I hear questions like this, because I've heard them before, about how do you knock out different qualified candidates, I always like to steer a conversation towards how do we qualify them in. I think a lot of times if you have maybe a whole deluge of candidates applying for a job, and you can't apply you got to knock some out because you can't hire everyone. But because you can't hire them now doesn't mean you can't hire them later. So I would be curious to know some use cases that maybe you guys have seen or heard of where, okay, someone applies for job X and they're not qualified, but the way the questions are set up will say, okay, you're not qualified for this, but because you mentioned that you have this skill, we have these 3 other jobs over here that you might be interested in. So what I would like to, and I've seen some of this, I would like to see these processes in place to where how can we best get you inside our company now or later, So in addition to knocking them out, having a discussion about how do we get them in now or later.
Yeah. And that's a lot of, sorry, Stephen. That's a lot of what we're looking at right now. We actually have teams that are much more focused on sourcing that really help channel people into one area or another. We also have our recruiters really always being knowledgeable on the range of roles throughout the organization, because with us, especially being an organization that hires 13,000 people a year, we're always focused on, okay, what might we have that's a match for you somewhere where you are or where you want to be, and how do we make sure to direct you into that recruiting path or that talent pool or whatever else have you. So it's always a focus of ours. You know, we don't want any wasted interactions, if you will. So anytime we're interacting with you, and we also kind of have like the Miracle on 34th Street thing, you know, in the back of our minds. Hey, if we don't have the right thing right now, maybe we can help you get to the right thing for you. Maybe it's with us, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not with me, the recruiter, maybe it's with that person, the recruiter, or maybe it's with a different company or a different type of organization. So we're always willing to help and help channel people to the right areas. And I think it makes a big difference. And
yeah, sorry, that up and down got a little mad at me. I don't really know what happened there. They were like, "We are going to do you." So
you were very deep in thought for a while. It was pretty impressive.
Was I giving it one of these?
Yeah, it was very
you're right.
You know, pensive.
Perfect. That's
yeah, inspiring.
Well, Jim, you don't know me that well. David does. That's classic. Let's move on to the next question. Look, I mean, this is something that, you know, I hear from a lot of organizations that I personally work with. It's the hiring, the resume abyss, we'll call it. You know, it's 63% of candidates don't hear back regarding the status of their application. That number may be higher. That statistic's 2 years old. What are we doing about this? I mean, I think recruitment automation is certainly it's helping us get better. But if we're a brand, you know, we live in Atlanta, Jim. We've got a few big brands, and I apply to one of those companies. What's preventing me from never buying that corporation's services anymore? Now I'm affecting their employer and their corporate brand. Who wants to talk a little bit about what we're doing to try to get over that hump?
I'll jump in because I have one example for you there. I think it was Richard Branson at Virgin, right? One thing that his company did, and I was looking for a news article to share with you specifically, Brian, because I wanted to be sure to bring it up. But essentially, how it works was when somebody interviews with Virgin for some particular role, they get some kind of discount code or coupon for their services, right? So it's like, you know, we didn't hire you, but, you know, here's 10% off of whatever, right? So that's pretty cool. But I think what'll really change the black hole situation is if you change the culture of the company. And this is how I would suggest doing. I don't say change the culture, but adding this type of thing. All right. Usually the people who are concerned about time to fill is the TA team or, you know, the recruiters, you know, but no one else really, no one really cares, right? Unfortunately. So what I have seen one particular client do is that they've outlined their recruiting process. They say somebody applies here, the chatbot does this, recruiter does this, hiring manager does this. It should take about this amount of time for each step in the process. And then after they flow chart it out, put it into a graphic, and then they send that graphic out to all the recruiters, to all the hiring managers, and say, hey, will you just stick this up on your wall next to your computer? Because I want you to see and be reminded where you are in the process of it, right? And then at the end of the year, we're going to average out. So, okay, our average time to fill has been so many days. You know, how come it's more than last year, or it's great that it's less than it was the year before? And then give the people, the recruiters and the hiring managers, some sort of reward for lowering their time to fill, or at least maintaining it, you know, and then incentivizing them to be better next time if the time to fill for the following year has increased. So showing that flow chart, making sure everybody sees what's going on, where they play a part into it, makes them all feel like they're involved, and it's not just the other guy's problem.
You know, Jim, I'm so happy that you cited the Virgin example because, you know, Graham Johnson, who was leading, you know, global recruitment over at Virgin, actually kind of came up with this plan. Now, I had heard that story, but I had no idea who conceptualized it. Barlaam and I are at dinner in San Diego at ERE, and we're just kind of shooting the stuff with the rest of the guys and gals at the table. And sure enough, Graham's sitting right next to us, and he's talking about his experience with Virgin. And we're like, oh, did you have anything to do with, you know, the Virgin Mobile campaign that turned declined applicants into a $6 million revenue generating opportunity? He goes, he's a British guy. He goes, I'm not even going to try to do the accent. Yeah, I built them. So Jim, I tried so hard to get Graham on this panel with you, me, and Steven. He said no, so I brought David in. So David's gym is the replacement for Graham. So, yeah, close.
Well, obviously you upgraded.
It was a
obviously
major upgrade. But, it's a great story. But, and then Johnson & Johnson has the Shine campaign where it's like ordering a pizza. And everyone, we'll go to the LinkedIn, feed here, and we'll share the story of Virgin. We'll share the Johnson & Johnson work. But we don't all have millions of dollars in budget to go ahead and create this, right? So does anyone have any feedback on what they've been doing with maybe a lower dollar value, even a dollar value of 0?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of companies, and I'm talking more kind of like on the agency side and some corporate customers that we have. They implement kind of like transparency processes, things of just like exactly where you are in that process. I think it's like super important that like you tell candidates that like, we had over like 1,000, we have over 1,000 candidates that we're having trouble going through at the moment, and just being transparent through the process. So that way all the candidates kind of like know like, hey, is this going to take like a month? Is this going to take 2 months? Like, what should I expect if I'm like continuing to interview at other places? So there's like kind of like automation, like tools out there, like HereFish, for example, which like attaches the bullhorn, and you can just set up like these little easy to configure triggers that go like things like if someone has read like your resume, if like the panel of 3 people have read your resume, send them an email and saying like, hey, we're making a decision soon on your resume, expect to hear from us within a day or 2. And you could set up all these cool things too, like you can send an SMS, text, and everything that just tells them exactly where they are in that process. Or like another thing too is like you can set something, for example, if like let's say they interviewed with somebody and they haven't heard back in a week, you instead of like kind of just leaving them hanging, you have that just SMS go out and just say like, hey, we are currently interviewing like 20 others. Expect to hear back from us soon. It is more transparency equals just better confidence.
Yeah, so Vanessa's made some great points here on the right in the chat, guys. Candidates are always customers if they have a good experience. If not, they'll steer clear of your company 100%. She hears from candidates all the time that they just want to know where they are in the process. David, you're the one that's oftentimes having to share this information. What are you guys doing?
So there's something that we're working on that hasn't actually been put in yet. But one of the things, I mean, when we were able to go to malls back, in years other than 2020, you could always go kind of like the you are here type map. And one of the things that we're trying to put in is in every communication kind of have, well, first off on the main website, here's what the process is going to be. A to Z. Obviously, not everybody's going to get to Z, but here's what your hiring process or hiring journey would look like. And then, every communication should have a bar that shows you, it's a third full, it's 2/3 full, it's complete. Yeah, that's when you're getting your offer. So really kind of showing them at all times, here's how much you have left to go. And again, especially when it's a lot chippier back and forth micro steps rather than one behemoth, here's our 16-page application. I think it's even more important to do and let them always know where they are. Even in the actual application process itself, knowing that step 2 of 3 versus 2 of 17 makes a large difference in who's going to continue to fill it out and who's not. So I think at all times when you give people the ability to have that I am here and I know where I am, you're going to have a lot more success. And even doing so, one of the areas that we have seen, we have 95% of the people that start our video interview finish the video interview, which I didn't believe the data at first because it was so ridiculous. And yeah, but the problem is that we have massive drop off before they start the video. So it's not a perfect story, but by showing them, here's how many questions you have, here's how long each takes, here's this, here's that, and then you're done. It really does, I believe, increase the volume that fills it out. We just now have to get more to get to that point, and we'd be a lot happier.
Can I make a suggestion to you
Please.
too? You say when people drop off in the video thing. One thing I haven't noticed, which it seems like it should be happening, but it's not. If I am filling out an application and I get to a point where, okay, I don't have time for this, that kind of thing. Just speaking to your drop off rate, why not have in there some sort of image, graphic, or text of some sort of social proof where, let's say I'm filling out, I'm doing the video platform, I'm tempted to cut it off because it's taking too long or whatever. And then on the right-hand side, it'll be a tweet from somebody who says, I love working here. And they'll say, oh, okay, so that's a reminder of it's a great place to work. So I'll go ahead and continue on through the process. Whether that's a tweet, whether that's some sort of graphic detailing what the company does in the community. Because I think no one does this, and it seems like we should always be selling, right? And so if someone's applying for a job, keep selling at that point too. You know, you got your social proof, you got what the company's doing. This could be you in 5 years. If you apply for if you get this job, you could be doing this 5 years from now or 3 years from now. Companies don't sell during the application process. I think it's a big missed opportunity. That makes sense.
For sure.
So always be
selling.
I love that. So
always be selling.
We know coffee's for closers, Jim. And let's get right. So if Vanessa's
that's the Jerry Crispin rule,
right? So here's the deal: if coffee's for closers, Jerry, Alec, Baldwin, Crispin, and Vanessa's asking, what software do you recommend for this process? Well, let's always be selling. Stephen, Jim, David. Who are we working with, or what are we developing? Let's be selling.
I'll go last.
Software. I would say, obviously we are more on kind of like the sourcing process. Like, we are selling candidates directly instead of them applying to us. So in that sense, like, the perfect candidate isn't always going to reach out to you. From what we've seen, at least, it's like for every 50 candidates that apply to you, probably only like one of them is kind of like good in that like bundle. When it comes to sourcing, it's like when you're doing the outreach yourself to candidates, it's something like we see it from 1 in 7 are like good candidates that like will respond back interested. So it's always important that if you are like reaching out for an extremely important role or like a VP level role or higher management, it's always important to, again, use that same theory of like always be selling. You want to sell like the candidates that are available out there and not just wait for them to like kind of like land on your doorstep. That's at least my experience in terms of technology. So it's just like, using sourcing software that's out there like ours also helps. I mentioned Herefish to like automate kind of like a lot of the like transparency that you will need. And then obviously, like if you aren't using an ATS already, I recommend using one. Yeah, that's the current stuff that I have on my mind.
All right, so Jim's going last. David, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think of it as software. I mean, you have to know where your candidates are, where they live, what they're doing. We have a ridiculous, authentic brand as a company, and it's the very first time I think I've had this issue where we even have a better story than we're able to tell, and we tell it really well. Most places I've worked, it's been an aspirational brand. It's like, yes, here's our culture, but in reality, it's not that really there yet. We just want it to be. We actually have that. And what we're realizing is that, so we're on Insta, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We're seeing that a lot of our hires are on TikTok now. So we're trying to get into TikTok. And it's funny because a lot of us are not, let's just say, of TikTok age. But
speak for yourself, sir.
Speak for yourself, David.
So you have us guys or gals that are a little more Facebook-ish age, trying to get involved and trying to do TikToks to kind of get in on the game. A lot of our employees do them, and they do them to great effectiveness. But I think don't try to speak to people from where you like speaking. Speak to people where they are and where they hang out and where they live. And I think that makes all the difference, because if you really are the culture that they're looking for, and if you really are that match that you allege that you are, you're speaking to them on their territory, on their turf, is going to have so much more impact than you could otherwise do. So that's kind of what I think.
Thank you. And to piggyback on what David said and a little bit of what Stephen said, when it comes to recommending software, it comes down to it depends. At Proactive Talent, we help a lot of companies with their recruitment optimization, with their tech stack. And so there are so many tools, so many different ways to do the same thing. Some are better for some companies, and some that work for some companies aren't necessarily recommended for another company. So my standard answer to say it depends, and each person is different. I can say something that I don't like, though. Having prior to serving at the pleasure of Proactive Talent, when I was looking for work, when I applied for different roles, what used to irk me about certain applicant tracking systems is that it'll say, okay, upload your resume. Well, okay, cool, great. Now take 20 minutes to fill out this form and fill out the same information that we should have parsed from your resume, right? Yeah. Then I'm thinking, okay, why do I need to give you my name, rank, and serial number and my blood type and everything else if I'm not even going to be interviewed? I think this should be more of, let's get you in quick, because I don't want you as the candidate to lose interest. Give me basically what I need for right now. And if we decide to go to the next level, then we'll ask for this other information. And I think that really speaks to candidate experience quite a bit, because, like I said, going through it some time ago, that was really aggravating. So if there's anybody developing applicant tracking systems or working with that, tweak that, please. But that may be a process thing. That might just be a process thing. But I personally
what's even worse is after you go through that whole 45-minute thing, you hit enter and you get the email right away. After careful consideration. What? No.
Like, you knew that when I was filling it out. And when you're filling it out and the system picks up like, you're not the one. Then why shouldn't the system say, hey, have you considered these other jobs, by the way? Yeah.
Add the human touch. The human touch is very important. Get them through the door. Talk to them for like 5 to 10 minutes. Like, I'm sure it's like not too much. You can even have like another employee do it too. Also to David, for example, my team specifically, I'm only nine individuals, but every single person kind of like, again, speaks to our brand. I think every single person manages our social media. And that's just kind of, it's like a team effort more than it is to show basically what kind of culture you guys are as a team, rather than like the person like managing your media experience. But again, we're only 9 people, so that's a very different story. So.
We have a 40.
I like how you keep stressing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm talking.
I was
gonna say I like how you.
Yeah. Virtual conferences.
I was gonna say I like how you are accentuating staying human. I read a really good book recently called The Robot Proof Recruiter by Katrina Collier, and I don't know if she's listening, but she owes me $1 for hyping that. But that's a really good book because it reminds HR departments, recruiters, to keep things human. All this technology is great. It helps push things along, but you can't lose track of you're talking to people. So, yeah, that's my point. I'll shut up.
No, that's a great point. I was just going to say we previously had a 45-person audience. Someone obviously got offended by something one of us said and dropped off. We have a 44-person audience now. I guarantee you that every single person in this room has felt that pain in the applicant tracking process. We've all talked about it. Everyone else on the other side's talked about it. The irony is so many of the 44 are practitioners. So let's do our part. I mean, we can really make change here. Talk to your vendors. I mean, that's what I would say. Steve Levy, man, if you're listening, what's up? Steve Levy said the best thing at ERE 2 years ago. He was like, always ask a vendor when you're getting a demonstration to use your data, because I can do the best demo of all time if it's just a demo site. But when I can incorporate my user's demo into the product, that tells a completely different story. I challenge every single one of you to go back. See, we said something impactful there. We're up to 48. I said I would challenge every single one of you to go back. If you're looking at new systems, new technologies, to Vanessa's point, talk honestly and openly about what you're looking for. If they can't provide it and they can't tell you that with a certain yes or no, move on. Okay, well, let's go ahead and kind of enter the next world. How do I spend less time with personalization while still having the same great quality? I'm going to turn this over to Steve. I think that that's something that you guys are certainly doing a lot of. What do you think?
Yeah. I would very much say that, like, being able to kind of like build a very organized process is super important. That's like one piece, which is like a good example of like what our customers do is like, if they want to add a personalized touch to every single email that they want to reach out to, it's not mail merge. It's not going to be like input first name here, send an automated email out. It's very much like, all right, cool. I have like 50 things to do. Let's kind of like place that email that they need to write on one side, and on the other hand side, give all the information that, about that candidate. So like things about what did they post on Twitter? What is their LinkedIn? What is their application process, and all that kind of stuff all lives and exists on like one page, so that way they can add the personalization. And that requires a lot of data. So another thing too is, instead of like, I guess this is more on like the sourcing side of things, purchasing like good data out there that's extremely like clean, and don't think of it as a numbers game. Think of it more as a quality game. The more quality candidates and their data that you have, the more you can make like a better personalized email, a better decision on like who to reach out to. So rather than kind of like, massing 10,000 people and hoping for like 10 people to reach out, you're actually reaching out to like, 30 candidates that you absolutely think are the right fit, rather than just like blindly kind of like going out. And, I don't know if you guys ever used some of these tools that they have their own database, and you like go like, all right, let me do a Boolean filter on like things like who I want to reach out to. And you're like, cool, I'm going to reach out to these 10,000. That doesn't work. Choose your candidates wisely. I guess that's as much I'll say, and then reach out. So, don't play it as a numbers game, play it as a quality game.
Jim, David, anything else to add on the personalization matter as it relates to, making sure that you're spending less time with higher quality?
Yeah.
I got one, but I'll let David go. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. Don't fake it. People can smell bullshit. Can we say that?
Yeah, you can say it.
Okay, good. People can smell bullshit.
Sounds like love.
Yeah, they're able to smell it a mile away. So, don't go thinking that your craftily created email is going to make them believe that someone sat there with a quill pen and did calligraphy. It's not happening. Be sincere. Be honest when you're communicating via some sort of mass type tool. Make sure that your recruiters have the freedom to do the personalization that they want to do with the people that they're actually talking to, but really don't try to fake it. A lack of authenticity really can destroy so much trust that you're building with candidates along the way. And I think it even hurts your overarching employment brand. If you come across as some, just spammy, auto email type of organization, even your really authentic social posts are going to start to be thought of as just another piece of spam that's trying to convince you or sell you, rather than kind of an open window into what the organization is. So don't fake it.
Jim?
I have an off the wall response. Go figure. Okay, so there's a couple of tools. Crystal Nose is one. Another one I learned from Susanna, I think, over at SourceCon, Froli.ai, which is another tool. Basically what it does is it analyzes your social media presence and it reveals your personality, right? So if I say for Crystal knows, I go to I go to Brian's Twitter profile, right? And I hit the Chrome extension, and let's ask for the links. Let me get my thought out, Vanessa. Then I'll write in there. Okay, so I go to someone's Twitter profile. I hit my Chrome extension for Crystal knows. It analyzes the person's Twitter stream, and it figures out based on what they say and how they respond to others what their personality is, right? And it does it like lightning quick. Another one is Froli that does it as well. And so I bring that up because if they have technology now that can scan your social network really quickly and come up with a basic personality of you, then why not have that same functionality inside of a career site? So I come to career site and I see different jobs, but now the jobs descriptions are more geared towards my personality, right? So if I'm a detail person, I'm gonna have a longer job description with details and stats of what expected of me, blah, blah, blah. But if my personality is more, I don't know, just going with the flow kind of thing, or I'm more concerned about, societal issues, then I'm gonna see more about what the company is doing in the community, right? And if they have tools that can gauge my personality, it's going to probably increase my engagement in terms of how I apply for different jobs at the company. I'm going to feel like this company really knows me, because the job descriptions that I see are based on my personality. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. And Vanessa, I'm going to write in the side here, the tools. Yes, I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
All right, so here's the deal, folks. We are at 1:53 Eastern Standard Time. This panel has until 1:55 official, but I think we can go until 2 o'clock. I believe all of our panelists have a firm stop at 2. First off, just before this, we get cut off here, if that happens, thank you, Wade and Wendy, Drew, Dave, Jill, and anyone part of that team. You guys did an absolute heck of a job putting this together. On behalf of the panel, we all appreciate you asking us to be involved. And more important, thank you to every one of you for coming to hang out with us. We know how busy it is right now. We know the current state of the world, the business climate, and what's being asked of all of us in our just normal day-to-day lives. So the fact that you all took 50 minutes to spend with us means more to us than we can possibly say. So thank you so much. With that, we're not going to ask any more questions of ourselves. What we want to do is open this up to the floor, 6 minutes. What have we not talked about that you wish we heard? Jim's going in, inputting how to understand more about my Twitter feed and what my personality is, which now you all know is likely very crazy. So what have we not mentioned that you wish we uncovered for you today?
Will the recording be shared? I assume so.
I believe that answer is yes. I've seen it a few times. I've been on a few of these, and I believe that answer is a universal yes. Antonio, thanks for joining us. Vanessa, for your questions. Anyone else who, I think it was Claire in the beginning who was asking, we really appreciate you all. If there are no further questions, we'll probably just say our goodbyes and wish you all very well. Please stay healthy and safe. And we hope to see you all at a conference. And we want to do this face-to-face so badly, guys. We hope to see you all real soon. Thank you so much and take care. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
Bye.